The orders of Discordia were planted by Greyface into his early disciples. They formed the skeleton of the anarchistic movement, which overemphasizes the principle of order and is antagonistic to the necessary complement, the principle of disorder. The orders are composed of persons, all hung up on authority, security, and control. For example, they are blinded by the anarchistic illusion. They do not know that they belong to orders of Discordia, but we know. 1. The military order of the Knights of the Five-Sided Temple. This is for all of the soldiers and bureaucrats of the world. 2. The political order of the Party for War on Evil. This is reserved for lawmakers, censors, and like ilk. 3. The academic order of the Hemlock Fellowship. They commonly inhabit schools and universities and dominate many of them. 4. The social order of the Citizens Committee for Concerned Citizens. This is mostly a grassroots version of the more professional military, political, academic, and sacred orders. And 5. The Sacred Order of the Defamation League. Not much is known about the DL, but they are very ancient and quite possibly were founded by Greyface himself. It is known that they now have absolute domination over all organized churches in the world. It is also believed that they have been costuming cabbages and passing them off as human beings. Don't let them immanentize the eschaton. A person belonging to one or more order is just as likely to carry a flag of the counter-establishment as the flag of the establishment, just as long as it is a flag. Hip 2, 3, 4, hip 2, 3, 4. Go to your left, right, military. The following is quoted from Bergen Evans on Norbert Wiener, nuclear physicist. The second concept Wiener has to establish is that of entropy. Probability is a mathematical concept coming from statistics. Entropy comes from physics. It is the assertion, established logically and experimentally, that the universe by its nature is running down, moving towards a state of inert uniformity, devoid of form, matter, hierarchy, or differentiation. That is, in any given situation, less organization, more chaos, is overwhelmingly more probable than tighter organizations or more order. The tendency for entropy to increase in isolated systems is expressed in the second law of thermodynamics, perhaps the most pessimistic and amoral formulation in all human thought. It applies, however, to a closed system, to something that is an isolated whole, not a part. Within such systems, there may be parts which draw their energy from the whole, that are moving at least temporarily in the opposite direction. In them, order is increasing and chaos is diminishing. The whirlpools that swirl in a direction opposed to the main current are called enclaves, and one of them is life, especially human life, which is a universe moving inexorably towards chaos, moves towards increased order. If the telephone rings today, water it. Reverend Thomas Gnostic, New York City Cabal. Personal. Planetary PI, which I discovered is 61, is a time-energy relationship existing between sun and inner planets, and I use it in arriving at many facts unknown to science. For example, multiply New Earth's circumference, 24,902.20656 by 61, and you get the distance of Moon's orbit around the Earth. This is slightly less than actual distance because we have not yet considered Earth's atmosphere. So be it, Christopher Garth Evanston. I should have been a plumber, Albert Einstein. The grasshopper always wrong in argument with chicken. Book of Chan, compiled by OPU sect, Zarathu's Enlightenment. Before he became a hermit, Zarathustra was a young priest, and took great delight in making fools of his opponents in front of his followers. One day, Zarathustra took his students to a pleasant pasture, and there he confronted the sacred cow while she was contentedly grazing. Tell me, you dumb beast, demanded the priest in his commanding voice, why don't you do something worthwhile? What is your purpose in life anyway? Munching the tasty grass, the sacred cow replied, moo. Upon hearing this, absolutely nobody was enlightened, primarily because nobody could understand Chinese. Moo is a Chinese ideogram for nothing. Dao fa zudan. Words of wisdom. Find peace with a contented cow. The sacred cow must. The sacred cow is a key to illumination. Devised by the apostle Hung Meng in ancient China, it was modified and popularized by the Taoists, and is sometimes called the yin-yang. The sacred cow is not the yin-yang of the Taoists. It is the hodgepodge of the Eurasians. And instead of a podge spot on the hodge side, it has a pentagon, which symbolizes the anarchistic principle. And instead of a hodge spot on the podge side, it depicts the golden apple of Discordia to symbolize the heuristic principle. The sacred cow symbolizes absolutely everything anyone need ever know about absolutely anything and more. It even symbolizes everything not worth knowing, depicted by the empty space surrounding the hodgepodge. Here follows some psychometaphysics. If you are not hot for philosophy, let's just skip it. The anarchistic principle is that of apparent order. The heuristic principle is that of apparent disorder. Both order and disorder are man-made concepts and are artificial divisions of pure chaos, which is a level deeper than is the level of distinction making. With our concept making apparatus called mind, we look at reality through the ideas about reality, which our cultures give us. The ideas about reality are mistakenly labeled reality, and unenlightened people are forever perplexed by the fact that other people, especially other cultures, see reality differently. It is only the ideas about reality which differ. Real, capital T, true. Reality is a level deeper than is the level of concept. We look at the world through windows on which have been drawn grids, concepts. Different philosophies use different grids. A culture is a group of people. With rather similar grids, through a window we view chaos and relate it to the points on our grid, and thereby understand it. The order is in the grid. That is the anarchistic principle. Western philosophy is traditionally concerned with contrasting one grid with another grid and amending grids in hopes of finding a perfect one that will account for all reality and will, hence, say unenlightened Westerners, be true. This is illusory. It is what we Eurasians call the anarchistic illusion. Some grids can be more useful than others, some more beautiful than others, some more pleasant than others, etc., but none can be more true than any other. Disorder is simply unrelated information viewed through some particular grid. But like relation, no relation is a concept. Male like female is an idea about sex. To say that maleness is absence of femaleness or vice versa is a matter of definition and metaphysically arbitrary. The artificial concept of no relation is the heuristic illusion. The point is that little t, truth, is a matter of definition relative to the grid one is using at the moment, and that capital T, truth, metaphysical reality, is irrelevant to grids inherently. Pick a grid, and through it some chaos appears ordered, and some appears disordered. Pick another grid, and the same chaos will appear differently, ordered and disordered. Reality is the original Rorschach. Verily, so much for all that. The words of the foolish and the words of the wise are not far apart from Discordian eyes. HPT, the Book of Advice 2.1. The podge of the sacred cow is symbolized as the golden apple of Discordia, which represents the heuristic principle of disorder. The writing on it, Callisti, is Greek for to the prettiest one, and refers to an old myth about the goddess. But the Greeks had only a limited understanding of disorder, and thought it to be a negative principle. The pentagon represents the anarchistic principle of order and symbolizes the hodge. The pentagon has several references. For one, it can be taken to represent geometry, one of the earliest studies of formal order to reach elaborate development. For another, it specifically accords with the law of fives. The truth is five, but men have only one name for it, Atmanzo Lingananda. It also is the shape of the United States military headquarters, the Pentagon building, a most pregnant manifestation of straitjacket order, resting on a firm foundation of chaos and constantly erupting into dazzling disorder. And this building is one of our more cherished Parisian shrines. Also, it so happens that in times of medieval magic, the Pentagon was the generic symbol for werewolves. But this reference is not particularly intended, and it should be noted that the Parisian movement does not discriminate against werewolves. Our membership roster is open to persons of all races, national origins, and hobbies. The Greek geometrician, Pythagoras, however, was not a typical anaristic personality. He was what we call an exploded anaristic and an avatar. We call him Archangel Pythagoras. 28-day recording. 5. Hung Mung slapped his buttocks, hopped about, and shook his head, saying, I do not know, I do not know. HBT, the Book of Gooks, Chapter 1. Hodgepodge Transformer. Hot air, fifth dimensional, the hand of Eris, chaos, matrix, to tilt, to 5 tons of flax. Brunswick Shrine. In the Los Angeles suburb of Whittier, there lives a bowling alley, and within this very place, in the year of Our Lady of Discord, 3125, 1959, Eris reveals herself to the Golden Apple Corpse for the first time. In honor of this incredible event, this holy place is revered as a shrine by all regions. Once every 5 years, the Golden Apple Corpse plans a pilgrimage to Brunswick Shrine as an act of devotion, and therein to partake of no hot dog buns and ruminate a bit about it all. It is written that when the corpse returns to the shrine for the 5th time, 5 times over, then shall the world come to an end. Impending doom has arrived. And 5 days prior to this occasion, the apostle, the elder Malachus, shall walk the streets of Whittier bearing a sign for all livers to read thereof, doom, as a warning of forthcoming doom to all men impending. And he shall signal this event by seeking the poor and distributing to them precious mal buttons. And Whittier shall be known as the region of Thud for these 5 days. As a public service to all mankind and civilization in general, and to us in particular, the Golden Apple Corpse has concluded that planning such a pilgrimage is sufficient, and that it is prudent to never get around to actually going. White Knight, S.C.O. Or maybe it was 1958, I forget. Starbucks Pebbles. Which is real? Do these 5 pebbles really form a pentagon? Those biased by the aneristic illusion would say yes. Those biased by the heuristic illusion would say no. Crisscross them and it is a star. An illuminated mind can see all of these, yet he does not insist that any one of these is really true, or that none at all is true. Stars and pentagons and disorder are all his own creation, and he may do with them as he wishes. Indeed, even so the concept of number 5. The real reality is there, but everything you know about it is in your mind, and yours to do with as you like. Conceptualization is art, and you are the artist. Can you chart the course to Captain Valentine's sweetheart? Convictions cause convicts. Hemlock. I've never touched the stuff. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I acquired a split beaver magazine. You can imagine my disappointment when upon examination of the photos with a microscope, I found that all I could see was dots. 7. Never write in pencil unless you're on a train or sick in bed. Eris contemplates for 3,125 years. One job is seek, seek, seek. The Paratheo and Metaphysic Code of Eris Esoteric, POEE, a non-profit irreligious disorganization, Malachus the Younger, KSU, omnibenevolent polyfather of virginity and gold, high priest. The Eurasian movement, House of Apostles of Eris, page 1 of 1 pages. KI official business. Surreptitious, sonus, business. Official, Discordian document, number if applicable, none. The Golden Apple Corpse, House of Disciples of Discordia, the Bureaucracy, Bureau of Dogmas, Council of Episcopuses, Office of High Priesthood, Sect of the POOEE, draw 0. Today's date, Day of the Parrot. Yesterday's date, yes. Original Cabal, Joshua Norton Cabal, San Francisco, to Reverend Rampant Pancreas, TRROCRS, Colorado, and Crustacean. Brother Ram, your acute observation that Eris spelled backwards is sire, and your inference to the effect that there is sexual symbolism here, that brought me to some observation of my own. Eris spelled 4-part afterwards is rise, and spelled inside out is ris, which is a unit of money. Albeit Portuguese Brazilian and no longer in use. From this, it may be concluded that Eris has usurped Eros, that of erotic love, in the eyes of those who read backwards, which obviously made Eros sore. Then she apparently embezzled the Olympian treasury and went to Brazil, whereupon she opened a chain of whorehouses, which certainly would get a rise from the male population. I figure to be this in particular because Madame reads the same forwards and backwards. And further, it is a term of great respect similar to sire. And so thank you for your insight. It may well be the clue to the mystery of just where Eris has been fucking around for 3,125 years. 5 tons of flax, mal 2, not for circulation. Calliste, hail Eris, all hail Discordia. Safeguard this letter, it may be an important document. Dogma 3, history number 2, cosmogony, which is not the same as Dogma 1, Metaphysics 2, Cosmology, Book of Uterus. In the beginning there was Void, who had 2 daughters. One, the smaller, was that of being, named Eris, and one, the larger, was of non-being, named Aneris. To this day, the fundamental truth that Aneris is the larger is apparent to all who compare the great number of things that do not exist with the comparatively small number of things that do exist. Eris had been born pregnant, and after 55 years, goddesses have an unusually long gestation period, longer even than elephants. Her pregnancy bore the fruits of many things. These things were composed of 5 basic elements: sweet, boom, pungent, prickle, and orange. Aneris, however, had been created sterile. When she saw Eris enjoying herself so greatly with all the existent things she had born, Aneris became jealous, and finally one day she stole some existent things and changed them into non-existent things and claimed them as her own children. This deeply hurt Eris, who felt that her sister was unjust, being so much larger anyway, to deny her her small joy. And so she made herself swell again, to bear more things, and she swore that no matter how many of her begotten that Aneris would steal, she would beget more, and in return Aneris swore that no matter how many existent things Eris brought forth, she would eventually find them and turn them into non-existent things for her own. And to this day, things appear and disappear in this very manner. At first, the things brought forth by Eris were in a state of chaos, and went in every which way, but by the time she began playing with them and ordered some of them just to see what would happen. Some pretty things arose from this play, and for the next 5 zillion years, she amused herself by creating order. So she grouped some things with others, and some groups with others, and big groups with little groups, and all combinations until she had many grand schemes which delighted her. Engrossed in establishing order, she finally one day noticed disorder, previously not apparent because everything was chaos. There were many ways in which chaos was ordered, and many ways in which it was not. She thought, here shall be a new game, and she taught order and disorder to play with each other in contest games, and to take turns amusing each other. She named the side of disorder after herself, Eristic, because being is anarchic. And then, in a mood of sympathy for her lonely sister, she named the other side Aneristic, which flattered Aneris and smoothed the friction, a little, that was between them. Now all this time, Void was somewhat disturbed. He felt unsatisfied for he had created only physical existence and physical non-existence, and had neglected the spiritual. As he contemplated this, a great quiet was caused, and he went into a state of deep sleep, which lasted for 5 hours. At the end of this ordeal, he begat a brother to Eris and Aneris, that of spirituality, who had no name at all. When the sisters heard this, they both confronted Void and pleaded that he not forget them, his firstborn. And so Void decreed thus: that this brother, having no form, was to reside with Aneris in non-being, and then to leave her, and so that he might play with order and disorder, reside with Eris in being. But Eris became filled with sorrow when she heard this, and then began to weep. Why art you spent? Demanded Void. Your new brother will have his share with you. But father, Aneris and I have been arguing, and she will take him from me when she discovers him, and calls him to return to non-being. I see, replied Void. Then I decree the following: when your brother leaves the residence of being, he shall not reside again in non-being, but shall return to me, Void, from whence he came. You girls may bicker as you wish, but my son is your brother, and we are all of myself. And so it is that we, as men, do not exist until we do. And And then it is that we play with our world of existent things, and order and disorder them. And so it shall be that non-existence shall take us back from existence, and that nameless spirituality shall return to void, like a tired child home from a very wild circus. Everything is true. Everything is permissible. Hassan E. Sabah. Apostle Sri Siddhasti. There is serenity in chaos. Seek ye the eye of the hurricane. A PoE mystery rite, the Sri Siddhastian chant, written in some sense by Maltu. Unlike a song, chants are not sung but chanted. This particular one is much enhanced by the use of a leader to chant the Sanskrit alone, with all participants chanting in English. It also behooves one to be in a quiet frame of mind and to be sitting in a still position, perhaps the buttercup position. It also helps if one is absolutely zonked out of his garb. Rub-a-dub-dub. Oh, hail Eris, blessed saint Hung Mung. Siadasti. Oh, hail Eris, blessed saint Mojo. Siadavak Pavya. Oh, hail Eris, blessed saint Zarathud. Siadasti, Siadnasti. Oh, hail Eris, blessed saint Elder Mal. Siadasti, Davak Tav Yaska. Oh, hail Eris, blessed saint Gulik. Siadasti, Siadnasti, Siadavak Tav Yaska. Oh, hail Eris, all hail Discordia. Rub-a-dub-dub. It is then repeated indefinitely, or for the first 2,000 miles, whichever come first. The classification of saints. 1. Saint, second class. To be reserved for all human beings deserving of sainthood. Example, Saint Norton the First, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. His grave near San Francisco is an official PoE shrine. Following 4 categories are reserved for fictional beings, who not being actual are more capable of perfection. 2. Lance Saint. Good saint material and definitely inspiring. Example, Saint Yossarian, Catch 22, Hell. 3. Lieutenant Saint. Excellent goddess saturated saint. Example, Saint Quixote, Don Quixote Cervantes. 4. Brigadier Saint. Comparable to Lieutenant Saint, but has an established following. Fictional or factual. Example, Saint Buchanan, Cat's Cradle, Vonnegut. 5. Five-star Saint, the Five Apostles of Eris. Note, it is an old Parisian tradition to never agree with each other about saints. Everybody understands Mickey Mouse. Few understand Hermann Hesse. Only a handful understood Albert Einstein. And nobody understood Emperor Norton. Slogan of Norton Cabal, SF. Tests by doctors prove it possible to shrink. On occultism. Magicians, especially since the Gnostic and the Kabbalah influences, have sought higher consciousness through the assimilation and control of universal opposites, good and evil, positive and negative, male and female, etc. But due to the steadfast pomposity of ritualism inherited from the ancient methods of the shaman, occultists have been blinded to what is perhaps the 2 most important pairs of apparent or earth plane opposites, order and disorder, and serious and humorous. Magicians and their progeny, the scientists, have always taken themselves and their subjects in an orderly and sober manner, thereby disregarding an essential metaphysical balance. When magicians learn to approach philosophy as a malleable art instead of an immutable truth, and learn to appreciate the absurdity of man's endeavors, then they will be able to pursue their art with a lighter heart and perhaps gain a clearer understanding of it, and therefore gain more effective magic. Chaos is energy. This is an essential challenge to the basic concepts of all Western occult, though, and PoE is humbly pleased to offer the first major breakthrough in occultism since Solomon. Study demonology with an enemy this Sunday. See Thomas Nosteth. PoE astrological system. 1. On your next birthday, return to the place of your birth, and at precisely midnight, noting your birth time and date of observation, count all visible stars. 2. When you've done this, write to me and I'll tell you what to do next. Look for the snowflake. It has magic properties. The eminent 16th century mathematician Cardan so detested Luther that he altered Luther's birthday to give him an unfavorable horoscope. The theorem to be proved is that if any even number, people take seats at random around a circular table bearing place cards with their names, it is always possible to rotate the table until at least 2 people are opposite their cards. Assume the contrary. Let n be the even number of persons, and let their names be replaced by the integers 0 to n minus 1, in such a way that the place cards are numbered in sequence around the table. If a delegate D originally sits down to a place card P, then the table must be rotated R steps before he is correctly seated, where R equals P minus D, unless this is negative, in which case R equals P minus D plus N. The collection of values of D and of P for all delegates is clearly the integers 0 to N minus 1, each taken once, but so also is the collection of values of R, or else 2 delegates would be correctly seated at the same time. Summing the above equations, one for each delegate, gives S minus S plus NK, where K is an integer and S equals 9, in parentheses N minus 1, close parentheses over 2. The sum of the integers from 0 to n minus 1, it follows that n equals 2k plus 1. An odd number. This contradicts the original assumption. I actually solved this problem some years ago. Rybicki writes, for a different but completely equivalent problem, a generalization of the non-attacking 8 queens, problem for a cylindrical chessboard where diagonal attack is restricted to diagonals slanting in one direction only. The curse of Greyface and the introduction of negativism. To choose order over disorder, or disorder over order, is to accept a trip composed of both the creative and the destructive. But to choose the creative over the destructive is an all-creative trip composed of both order and disorder. To accomplish this, one need only accept creative disorder along with and equal to creative order, and also be willing to reject destructive order as an undesirable equal to destructive disorder. The curse of Greyface included the division of life into order-disorder as the essential positive-negative polarity, instead of building a game foundation with creative-destructive as the essential positive-negative. He has thereby caused man to endure the destructive aspects of order and has prevented man from effectively participating in the creative uses of disorder. Civilization reflects this unfortunate division. order over create and destroy, and disorder over create and destroy. POEE proclaims that the other division is preferable, and we work towards the proposition that creative disorder, like creative order, is possible and desirable, and that destructive order, like destructive disorder, is unnecessary and undesirable. Seek the sacred cow. Therein you will find the foolishness of all order disorder. They are the same. Parisian magical ritual. The turkey curse. Revealed by the apostle Dr. Van Mojo as a specific counter to the evil curse of Greyface. The turkey curse is here passed on to Parisians everywhere for their just protection. The turkey curse works. It is firmly grounded on the fact that Greyface and his followers absolutely require an aneuristic setting to function, and that a timely introduction of heuristic vibrations will neutralize their foundation. The turkey curse is designed solely to counteract negative aneuristic vibes, and if introduced into a neutral or positive aneuristic setting, like a poet working out of word rhythms, it will prove harmless, or at worst, simply annoying. It is not designed for use against negative heuristic vibes, although it can be used as an heuristic vehicle to introduce positive vibes into a misguided heuristic setting. In this instance, it would be the responsibility of the Parisian magician to manufacture the positive vibrations if results are to be achieved. Caution! All magic is powerful and requires courage and integrity on the part of the magician. This ritual, if misused, can backfire. Positive motivation is essential for self-protection. To perform the turkey curse, take a foot stance as if you were John L. Sullivan, preparing for fisticuffs. Face the particular gray face you wish to short circuit, or towards the direction of the negative aneuristic vibration that you wish to neutralize. Begin by waving your arms in any elaborate manner and making motions with your hands as though you were a mandrake feeling up a sexy giantess. Chant loudly and clearly, gobble, 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 gobble. The results will be instantly apparent. A primer for a region evangelist by Lord Omar. The Socratic approach is most successful when confronting the ignorant. The Socratic approach is what you call starting an argument by asking questions. You approach the innocent and simply ask, did you know that God's name is Eris and that he is a girl? If he should answer yes, then he is probably a fellow Arisian, and so you can forget it. If he says no, then quickly proceed to the blind assertion and say, well, he is a girl and his name is Eris. Shrewdly observe if the subject is convinced. If he is, swear him into the legion of dynamic discord before he changes his mind. If he does not appear to be convinced, then proceed to the faith bit. But you must have faith. All is lost without faith. I sure feel sorry for you if you don't have faith. And then add the argument by fear. And in an ominous voice ask, do you know what happens to those who deny goddess? If he hesitates, don't tell him that he will surely be reincarnated as a precious Mao button and distributed to the poor in the region of Thud, which would be a mean thing to say. Just shake your head sadly, and while wiping a tear from your eye, go to the first clause ploy, wherein you point to all of the discord and confusion in the world and exclaim, well, who the hell do you think did all this, wise guy? If he says, nobody, just impersonal forces, then quickly respond with the argument by semantical gymnastics and say that he's absolutely right and that those impersonal forces are female and that her name is Eris. If he, wonder of wonders, still remains obstinate, then finally resort to the figurative symbolism dodge and confide that sophisticated people like himself recognize that Eris is a figurative symbol for an ineffable metaphysical reality and that the Eurasian movement is really more like a poem than like a science and that he is liable to be turned into a precious malbutton and distributed to the poor in the region of Thud if he does not get hip. Then put him on the mailing list. Sync. A game by Alahara, ELNS, Rayville, Apple Panthers. Sync is played by Discordians and people of much ilk. Purpose, to sink object or an object or a thing in water or mud or anything you can. Sink something in. Rules. Sinking is allowed in any manner to date 10-pound chunks of mud were used to sink a tobacco can. It is preferable to have a pit of water or a hole to drop things in, but rivers, bays, gulfs, I dare say even oceans can be used. Turns are taken thusly. Whosoever gets the junk up in the air first. Duty. It shall be the duty of all persons playing sink to help find more objects to sink once one object is sunk. Upon sinking, the sinked shall yell, I sank it, or something equally as thoughtful. Naming of objects is sometimes desirable. The object is named by the finder of such object, and whoever sinks it can say, for instance, I sunk Columbus, Ohio. In a way, we are a kind of Peace Corps. Major Abraham Lincoln, German training director of the Green Beret Special Warfare School, Father Bragg, North Carolina. A joint effort of the Discordian Society, Post Office Liberation Front. Export license not required. This is a chain letter. Within the next 55 days, you will receive 3,100 pounds of chains. In the meantime, plant your seeds. If a lot of people who receive this letter plant a few seeds, and a lot of people receive this letter, then a lot of seeds will get planted. Plant you seeds in parks, on lots, public flower beds, in remote places, at city halls, wherever, whenever, or start a plantation in your closet, or read up on it first for that. For casual planting, it's best to soak them in water for a day and plant in a bunch of about half an inch deep. Don't worry much about weather. They know when the weather is wrong and will try to wait for nature. Don't soak them if it's wintertime. Seeds are a very hardy life form and strongly desire to grow and flourish, but some of them need people's help to get started. Plant your seeds. Make a few copies of this letter. 5 would be nice. And send them to friends of yours. Try to mail to different cities and states, even different countries. If you would rather not, then please pass this copy on to someone and perhaps they would like to. There is no truth to the legend that if you throw away a chain letter, then all sorts of catastrophic, abominable, and outrageous disasters will happen, except, of course, from your seed's point of view. Question. How come a woodpecker doesn't bash its brains out? Answer. Nobody has ever explained that. Avatars. A 5 by 5 square. On the top Left to right, Parisian, Aristic, Anaristic, Miscellaneous, and fifth column. On the right side, from top to bottom, exploded, expanded, conscientious, conscious, and unconscious. The numbers in the squares from a region from the top first square, the first line, going down is 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, and then it continues to the right 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 1C, 2C, 3C, 4C, 5C, etc. And on the left side, across the y axis, is mundane. One square is holy. Plant your seeds, keep prices down. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth. To you it shall be for meat. Genesis 1:29. Question. Have a friendly class talk. Permit each child to tell any part of the unit on courtesy in the corridors and on the stairs that he enjoyed. Name some causes of disturbance in your school. Execute. Chapter 1. The Epistle to the Paranoids, Lord Omar. 1. Ye have locked yourself up in cages of fear, and behold, do ye now complain that ye lack freedom? 2. Ye have cast out your brothers for devils, and now complain ye, lamenting that ye have been left to fight alone. 3. All chaos was once your kingdom. Verily held ye domination over the entire Pentaverse. But today ye wax sore afraid in dark corners, nooks, and sinkholes. 4. Oh, how the darknesses do crowd up, one against the other in ye hearts. What fear ye more than what ye have wroughten? 5. Verily, verily, I say unto you, not all the sinister ministers of the Bavarian Illuminati, working together in multitudes, could so entwine the land with tribulation as have your baseless warnings. Despite strong evidence to the contrary, persistent rumor has it that it was Mr. Momoto's brother who has swallowed Mr. Momoto's in the summer of 44. Advertisement, Bavarian Illuminati, founded by Haman E. Sabah, 1090.
Yeah, you want me to start dinner?